Hey, right now I want to go to my next guest, Arthur Lieber. He attended the University of Washington, D.C., graduated from Washington University, received a master's in education from Webster's University, has more than 40 years in education, include teaching public, private schools throughout the St. Louis area, co-founded the Crossroads School, the only non-sectarian independent secondary school in the city of St. Louis. Now, on March 30th, 2010, when no Democrat had filed to run in Missouri's 2nd Congressional District as of 3 hours prior to the deadline, Lieber filed to ensure that Democrats in his district would have someone to vote for. And he received 29% of the vote in his unsuccessful bid to represent the 2nd Congressional District of Missouri. Later, he put all these thoughts into a book, and the book was called An Unlikely Candidate, Reflections on My Run for Congress. Hey, Arthur, welcome to the show. How are you, sir?
Very well. Chuck, thank you for having me.
Well, I'll tell you, Mitt Romney, how much did he raise in like 1 hour?
I believe he raised $10.25 million in one evening.
Then we got President Obama, and he's got some organization, let's see, it's called Priorities USA, and I think he said about $2 billion he wants to get as soon as possible or something like that.
Well, I think he wants to bring in a total of $1 billion for the campaign, which will still surpass his previous record. So there's a lot of money floating around there, and one of the issues is what is it used for? It's not really educating a lot of people. Primarily, it is used to run negative ads and just kind of demean our whole political process.
Now, when you ran. And I'm still amazed, you got a 3-hour deadline before somebody can put their name in, and there you go. I give you credit for that. How much money did this campaign cost, do you think, and how many millions did you take in there?
I think you start with a zero and end with a zero. I wanted to spend under $50,000, and I did just under that. So it was self-funded, which is not something that I'd want to do every year, but it's something that I felt I had to do in order to try and run for Congress and at the same time not be taking money from outside interests.
Now, the amazing thing is, Arthur, is that I'm sure you felt you were qualified for the job. I'm going to kind of put you on the spot here, okay? I'm sure you said, hey, I would make a good candidate here in this election. And so you say, I'm going to spend $150,000. Is that what you said, 150?
50,000.
Oh, just 50.
So it came out to 64 cents a vote.
Okay. All right. So, and you still got 29%. Mm-hmm. Now, your whole premise, the reason you're on right now is because you think maybe it's time to limit political campaign fundraising and expenditures. So you look at it two different ways. Did the Republican or the Independent, did they take so much more money that they got more votes? Or, in other words, if you would have taken the money and you still got 29%, you might have ended up getting 60%. You know what I'm saying? How do you know if you made the right decision? That's bottom line.
Well, this is a district which has been safe for Republicans for the past decade, and the incumbent Todd Aiken really has not had very strong opposition. And I think there's a reason for that, which is that Democrats have felt, qualified ones, potentially viable candidates have felt, well, even if I raised $1 million, I'm not going to win. It would kind of be like, if I understand correctly, Democrats had a difficult time in Orange County, correct?
So right. So the only way, we're coming up on a break, the only way you might have had a chance is if Arnold Schwarzenegger was, promoting the other guy there, possibly. We're going to continue in just a moment with Arthur Lieber. Hey, and the name of his book, by the way, is Unlikely Candidate, Reflections on My Run for Congress, and that website is anunlikelycandidate.com. We'll continue in just a moment.
That's Nettie Liddell.
And that's Brett Chapin.
Inviting you to join us every Saturday at 3 p.m. Pacific Time for La La Land with Brett and Nettie.
We'll talk about all facets of Hollywood, bringing you the people, the places, and everything in between that make Los Angeles the entertainment capital of the world.
So welcome to your new addiction, La La Land with Brett and Nettie, every Saturday at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern.
Right here and only here on CRM Digital Talk.
Everybody's talking at me.
My guest, Arthur Lieber, he's the author of An Unlikely Candidate, and basically we're talking about his suggestion that it's time to limit political campaign fundraising and expenditures. And you know, Arthur, I think people have always thought this would be the great scenario, but it just doesn't seem to take hold. You know, it's always like everybody will have an equal debate and so many commercials. Each person can only run so many commercials. Is that part of your plan too, a limited amount of commercials you could run, or is it basically the money that you can spend?
That's a tough one because Congress has has legislated with McCain-Feingold limitations on how much can be spent, how much can be raised. But we run into problems with the First Amendment. The Supreme Court has for the most part, said that money is a form of free speech. So rather than trying to go through that complicated route, it's like threading it's just very difficult to find a way in which the Supreme Court would find it acceptable. So what I'm asking people to do is to just think about what it means when someone is taking a lot of money, particularly from vested interests. Can you really respect that person?
Yeah, right.
And the Greeks used to, had a culture of shame, and I'd like to see Americans think more about kind of shame on you to the people who raise and spend a considerable amount of money, which really does very little to educate the electorate.
And to me, no matter who the president is, Democrat, Republican, if you're already in office and you're running again, you have the advantage because, for example, when Obama goes down to El Paso to make a speech, because we have immigration problems, drug cartel problems, it turns out, that it's you're paying, contributing to be in the audience for, what I'm saying? He gets all this exposure, and it's not just him, it's whoever's in office. You have the foothold unless it's your last year in office. So, that's sort of unequal there. Now then, the other thing, talk about perfect timing, Arthur, is because what just broke yesterday is the Democrats' commercial, pushing the little old lady over the cliff. Have you seen that commercial?
I have not. I don't know if it's run in Missouri. Tell me a little bit about it.
Well, basically, they're saying that if you go with Paul's health care plan, that they're going to push the senior citizens, your mom, your father, the old people, going to push them right off the cliff. And the thing is, it's not true. And even when whenever you see the debate on it, the Democrats, they're going, yeah, it's not true, but it's kind of getting our point across of how, you really have to look in it. Well, if it's not true, you shouldn't be able to run it. You know what I'm saying? I
do. And, the campaign that I had really didn't get dirty. I mean, I went out of my way to meet Todd Aiken, and it was easy for him, I think, because he was, pretty well in the prohibitive favorite. But we agreed.
Is his brother a quarterback?
No.
Okay.
And I think he probably wouldn't want to get near a football field. But yeah, good trick, good try. But I've found it quite a bit on the Democratic side as well as the Republican side. Just such silly advertisements. And afterwards, after the campaign, as I said, I wasn't the target of anything, but I made a point of calling the Southern Poverty Law Center down in Montgomery, Alabama, because they look into hate crimes. And I just wanted them to look at to consider the idea that some political commercials are really the form of hate crimes. They are so distorting towards a person and about an issue that maybe we need to look for ways in which they just can't be aired. And I think that politicians really try to dumb down the process and assume that we have attention spans of 30 seconds and no more. You run a program, obviously, where you want extended talk, and so I think you respect your listeners, and that leads to enlightenment, hopefully.
And there are so many things that I could discuss with you, and we are almost out of time. One of the most important things, of course, is educating American students so that they know what's going on. And I'm going to have to bring you back, and we're going to talk about more of this if you have a chance, and we'll line this up, weeks down the road. But here's the thing, when we talk about dirty commercials, politics, they got this computer, and I'm getting ready to do a program on this, believe it or not, the one that beat Jeopardy. Yes. This computer is set up to do so many things, like diagnosing illnesses, everything. Wouldn't it be great to be able to use this computer that they've got, and the computer will look at the commercial and say, you can't run it. I mean, it sounds like, no, there's no way that computer would know, but I mean, this sucker's smart. And it would be unbiased, We'd make sure that it was built by either a Democrat or a Republican, okay?
Yeah. No, I think that would be a terrific idea. I mean, we need to see whether something passes the giggle test. Is it BS, quite bluntly?
Right, absolutely.
And because we respect freedom of speech, and I think we should, just about anything can happen. I think the way you put the brakes on that is you have somewhat of a shame society. You have people who take politicians to task who just thoroughly distort the facts. It doesn't matter whether it's Republicans or Democrats. A lie is a lie, regardless of who it comes from. Mm-hmm.
Well, hey, fantastic. This is our first visit, and we got to do it more often. Arthur Lieber, right? L-I-E-B-E-R.
Yeah, you got it. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Arthur Lieber, and get a copy of his book, An Unlikely Candidate, anunlikelycandidate.com. Thank you, sir, and I'll set something up in the near future with you.
I appreciate it, Chuck. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you. Let's right now go to Alan Gottlieb, publisher of Gun Week, chairman of the Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep and Bear Arms, and founder of the Second Amendment Foundation.